Hi, I'm Carrie, and if you're like me, back in 2020, you started to have a lot more time to start scrolling, and you started to see a lot more photos and videos of beautiful, idyllic, and bucolic posts that really idealized a lifestyle that was slow living, what we call slow living. And I loved it. I do love it still, but I don't necessarily live it the way everybody else does. And today we're going to have a little chat about how one can live slowly without slowing down. Okay, so what do I mean about slow living without slowing down? I know slow living online, when you see it, is presented as a beautiful, bucolic uh, lifestyle that involves, leisurely afternoons spent out on your front porch watching your kids play in the yard and maybe punctuated with like, milking your cows or working in your garden. And well, I think those are great. I don't think that's the only definition of slow living, and we sort of need to expand our horizons. We need to expand what exactly that can mean. Slow living is being able to have, space and breath to just be able to enjoy the little things in life, to be able to see the wonders in having an ordinary life. And I'll be honest with you, if you looked at my life, you'd be like, I don't see how you can consider yourself to be living a slow life, but I do actually, and I feel really lucky to be at that point. So just to give you a little background. I am a single parent. I have two kids. They're both they're a preteen and a teenager, and they both play ice hockey, which is a very involved sport. If you have a child who plays hockey or you know someone who plays hockey, there's a lot that goes into it financially and just time wise. It's a lot, and when you have two kids, it's double that. So we spend a lot of time in the car, and we spend a lot of time being at the ice rink. And during the months of, let's see, like September through February, March ish. There's just not a lot of sitting still that we do, but I still consider us to be living a slow life. And we're going to sort of break down how that is even possible. So, according to Wikipedia, slow living is a lifestyle which encourages a slower approach to aspects of everyday life. But slow living, like any other internet trend that I've seen, and it kind of hurts me inside to call slow living a trend, but it is a trend. It has been so condensed down into it must look this way or it's wrong. And I really don't agree with that. I think it's a real shame that we live in a world now where people feel the need to have a very specific aesthetic to be able to find their place in the world. I mean, definitely in the beginning, so like 2020, 2021, sort of learning and exploring the slow living lifestyle. I definitely wanted those things as well. I wanted to homestead. I wanted to have a closet full of linen dresses and sun hats and to be able to, drink my coffee while walking barefoot and feeding my cows so that I could milk them by hand later. But, that never happened because I really had to have a hard sit down about what does slow living mean to me and how can I make that work for me and my family. My version of slow living means having, first and foremost, freedom. So, having freedom to explore different passions in life, having the freedom to make changes in my life or like my family's life as needed. And with that comes having white space in our calendars. Like, I thrive when I have a lot of white space in my calendar. Slow living is living a memorable life, and that's a memorable life to me. I want to be able to think back on my life and actually be able to remember it. Like, I want to be present in my everyday interactions with my family, with my kids, with our horses. And slow living means fully participating in my life. So, not relying on crutches such as having a screen on me or available all the time, not being on social media all the time, like choosing that, like, if I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids and I'm participating in what we're doing, or just being fully present. Now, of course, slow living isn't for everyone, and it shouldn't be for everyone. And I can think of a couple of examples where it would be really hard to adapt to a slow life. And some of those would be like families with older kids or teens, kids, especially like middle school age through high school. They are incredibly busy. They have so many demands on their time from sports and activities and school that it could be hard to find that white space in your calendars, or just to be able to say no to so many things that are presented to you. Another one would be single parents. I think it's incredibly difficult in today's world to be the sole provider for a family. It can definitely be a huge stretch on your resources to be a single income family, or to be, trying to keep up and provide just everything, especially with the cost of living going up like crazy these days. And then also families who don't have a good support system around them, like they don't have a village around them. Those examples I can definitely see where slow living is going to be a bit harder to implement in your life. But I don't think it's impossible. I think that it's a choice that you have to make with some changes and, some deep thinking. It is possible. As with everything, you have to really devote some time to it and give it time to develop. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a lot of work, especially at the beginning, because it's changes that have to be made. And in my opinion, it's worth it. So I can't tell you exactly like what you should do. And I don't think anyone should ever tell you exactly what to do. Here are some things that helped me to transition into a slower pace of life. Number one, and I think this is the most important step, so please do this one first, don't skip it, would be to determine your priorities. There's a lot of information out there about what slow living should be and should look like. You have people out there homesteading. You have people who do all their cooking from scratch, and those are all great, and I'm glad that they work for those people, but please don't take what they do as law, and that think that you need to also do those things to be considered living a slow lifestyle, because it's ultimately up to you. And I think this is actually part of the process that takes the longest, because it does take time to determine what your priorities are. And like, I know for me that up until probably this summer, I thought it was really, really important to me and a big priority to be able to garden and to be able to produce some amount of vegetables. And say that after having a garden, not even a big garden, it's just a small garden, that I don't think that that's really a priority for me now. It's been great. We've been able to grow quite a few things quite well, which is nice. But in the big picture, I think I could probably do without it. That's an example of, just determining like, is that a priority, or is it just someone telling me that's what I should be doing to fit the mold? The next would be to, and this goes along with determining your priorities, is to let go of everything that isn't necessary. And it's really hard, I know, to say no to things. And for me, this was a huge step in opening up that white space in my calendar, because I needed it, and I didn't know I needed it until I started saying no, and it's been wonderful. Do I feel guilty sometimes about not saying yes and maybe not contributing as much as somebody else sometimes? But it's been good for me, so I can't say that it was the wrong choice. I think for me, for really embracing a slow lifestyle, was to find what I like to call anchors. in my life. So these anchors could be something that you do daily. It could just be something you do weekly or maybe just every once in a while. But they are little moments in your life that sort of like bring you back and like, are like, oh yes, this is what I want. This is what makes it all worth it. So some examples of that would be having a reading time at the end of the day. So I've sort of set this time at night before we go upstairs to our bedrooms. I make myself a cup of tea. I might have some dessert that day, but like sitting down and reading. I don't like require my kids to also be like just reading. They can be doing like, they need to write a letter or they need to, I don't know, they're drawing or whatever that is. Like they're free to do that as well, as long as they do it quietly. But most of the times, like we're all just sitting there and reading for an hour or two sometimes, just depending on how our evening has gone. And now your anchors can be short, they can be long. It could just be like, I want to sit down and just enjoy a hot cup of coffee mid-afternoon, like for 15 minutes. Like that's a great anchor. Like you should do that. That's a wonderful anchor to have. And it can also be something as, big and grand as on Saturday mornings, we are going to go and get donuts as a family. Like that's something that we have done in the past as an anchor, and it's also a great thing to do. Next is to take breaks. And yes, always take breaks like during your day, during your weeks, taking breaks from like your busy periods of life. So like I know that our winters can be super busy. Like we're going to be go, go, go a lot. So to balance that out, I've kind of said like, okay, once June hits, we're definitely like, we don't do anything for June. Like we're just at home doing only the absolute necessary things that need to get done and not really saying yes to anything else. And even that this year, that kind of even extended into July, which was really nice. I think it was a much needed break. So just plan on trying to take breaks throughout your year. It could just be like holiday breaks. So if your kids are home from school and you're able to also be at home with them, just set like Christmas break is that's a break from most things if you're able to do that. But taking breaks, I have found, has definitely helped to sort of balance out your life and get back to that slow. And it's also a great time to reassess your priorities from the past year because you finally have time to sit and think without having to be like, I just need to get through this next day, this next week, whatever. And then the final recommendation I would have is to pare down pretty much everything in your life. I mean, this really goes into minimalism in general. You might need to think about paring down like your possessions. Is the point of resistance in living a slow lifestyle? Is it because it takes you a large amount of time to be able to keep your house clean, or is it just becoming too much to get through your everyday things? Because we all have things that need to be done like every day or every week or something, and I hope that they don't take you too terribly long, that they feel manageable. But if they don't, then there might be something that you need to do about it. So minimalism, I feel like, is a great thing that everybody should explore, whether or not you want to identify as a minimalist. And yet again, why do we need to identify as anything? But incorporating minimalism into your life across all of your life can be super helpful, I have found. So, paring down your possessions, paring down your social media. Could you, sort of find more time to live slowly and enjoy the things that slow living would give you if you weren't scrolling for 2, 3, 4 hours every day? Paring down your finances, like going through what you spend every month and determining like, do I need to have a subscription to 5 different streaming services? Probably not. Just paring that down and then allowing yourself some more freedom to, maybe not have to work so long. And I think that definitely ties in with the whole ability to live slow. And I know in America we have a productivity problem. We feel we must be working all the time or we are not useful. And I get that. I feel that in my bones. But if we want to be able to, live slowly, that slowness has to be able to be somewhere in our life. And if we never feel like we are allowed to stop and rest and just enjoy the little things in life, then, I mean, what are you going to do? Yes, so like if you can cut down on your finances and free up, just a little bit of time, even, if you're like, hey, I don't need to, maybe I don't need to work so much. I'm actually, if I just had this amount of money, I could, have more free time. I could, just have more time open up, more white space on your calendar. But that is a totally personal and individual choice, and, just some ideas for you to explore if you are interested in having a slow life.